Tennessee This Week from WATE 6 on your side starts now.
Hello and welcome to Tennessee This Week. I'm Bo Williams. We are recapping election night and getting ready for the November general election. First up in Knox County, Mayor Glenn Jacobs will get another term, the Republican taking 56% of the vote to 44% for Democrat Debbie Helsley. And in District 18, Elaine Davis winning the Republican primary, 56% to 44% for Janet Testerman. That seat opened up after Eddie Manis opted not to run. 6 on your side reporter Elizabeth Kubel was at the GOP watch party to focus on these races.
The Republican Party claiming several victories on Thursday night, including county mayor and district attorney. Let's start with that county mayor race. Incumbent Mayor Glenn Jacobs taking the podium with his wife, thanking everyone who showed up to vote. Jacobs faced off against the former head of the county Democratic Party, Debbie Helsley, and told us how he was feeling after the party announced his win and as he now looks toward his next term in office.
Well, it's a continuation of what we've done for the first 4 years, emphasis on education, workforce development. You know, with the global economy moving in the direction of innovation, we have to keep up with that. So a lot of what we'll be doing is really aligning our workforce and everything we do so that we can be competitive and be a big-time player in the innovation economy.
Another race on the ballot was the one to fill the House seat vacated by Eddie Manis. Two well-known political figures squaring off for the spot in Nashville, Elaine Davis and Janet Testerman. Davis was the one who gave a victory speech at the podium.
I am so pleased. I'm so excited. I had such a strong team behind me. We worked so hard, and we were able to really just connect with the voters, and it showed in the results.
Many of the candidates that we talked to told us they are ready to get to work.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you very much. Another race that we have been watching was for Tennessee Senate District 5 Republican primary. Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally earned 84% of the vote over Earl Segrest, who got 16%. Next, another primary race, Tennessee Senate District 7, Richard Briggs, the incumbent Republican, getting 66% of the vote over challenger Kent Morrell, who took 34%. The winner will face Brian Langan in November. Langan, by the way, ran unopposed on the Democratic side. Now looking at the district attorney general race in Knox County, incumbent Republican Sharm Allen earned 57% of the vote, while Democratic challenger Jackson Fenner received 43%. Now when asked Allen, we asked Allen what comes next for her, and well, she said this.
First, what comes is I've got to get those signs up that I put at the polling precincts by 7 a.m. So I've got to leave here and get those signs up by 7 a.m. Then I've got to get the rest of the signs down, then a relaxing weekend, and then right back at it Monday.
Now let's look at school board races on the ballot as partisan contest this time. District 1 in Knox County, John Butler is the winner over 2 independents, including Reginald Jackson at number 2 and Brianna Holloway 3rd. Another close one, School Board District 4, Catherine Bike beating Will Edwards. She's a Democrat, he's a Republican. Remember, school board races in Knox County are partisan, just more than 100 votes separating them, but Bike, again, coming out on top. School board member Betsy Henderson won re-election for her District 6 seat in Knox County. Republican Steve Triplett won over independent Dominique Oakley for the District 7 school board seat. And school board chair Christy Christie won in a race that went back and forth through the night, but Christie came out on top with 52% to Annabelle Henley's 48% in the District 9 race. All right, let's look deeper into the ballot now. Knox County Commission District 3. Close race here. Gina Oster winning by a slim margin over Democrat Stuart Hall. Republican Larson Jay holds on to his at-large District 10 seat over Democrat Dylan Early. Also, Kim Frazier wins the open District 11 at-large county commission seat over Vivian Underwood Shipe and independent Donald Bridges. Knox County has a new trustee, Justin Biggs, the Republican, winning over Democrat Kaz Caslett. Division 1 General Sessions Judge incumbent Chuck Cerny stays on the bench over challenger Sarah Keith. Charlie Sassano wins in the race for Circuit, Civil, Sessions, and Juvenile Court Clerk. And Nick McBride wins over Scott Crammon for Register of Deeds here in Knox County. Elsewhere in East Tennessee, a major upset in the Campbell County mayor's race. Challenger Jack Lynch beat incumbent E.L. Morton with 44% of the vote. And there's also a new sheriff in Campbell County, Eddie Wayne Barton, II, beating incumbent Robbie Goins. Barton receiving 51% of the vote to Goins' 39%. The matchup is also set for the November governor's race. Jason Martin beating out his competitors, J.B. Smiley and Carnita Atwater. It was a race where getting the results stretched well into the night. Dr. Martin now goes on to face off against Governor Bill Lee, who ran for re-election unopposed on the Republican ticket. Looking now to Middle Tennessee, a Republican primary that's gotten huge attention since redistricting earlier this year. Andy Ogles taking the win among 9 Republicans, hoping to be the next member of Congress from District 5. Redistricting prompting the retirement of longtime Democratic incumbent Jim Cooper. Come November, Ogles will face Democrat Heidi Campbell, who ran unopposed. In House District 3, Republican Chuck Fleischman defeated Republican Sandy Casey. Fleischman picking up 79% of the vote to Casey's 20%. And for a full look at election results in our area from the August 4th election, just head to WATE.com or open your 6 on Your Side news app. It's back to class tomorrow for Knox County schools, and at the end of last week, we learned about a slate of security upgrades coming in response to the horrifying trend of shootings around the country. The Knoxville Police Department is planning to show a major presence. Also, the district will have the most school security officers it has ever had at the start of the school year. But Superintendent Dr. John Reiswick wants more.
There is no better way to make schools safe than to have a highly trained officer in every school. So I have asked our newly created talent acquisition team to focus on actively increasing their recruitment of military veterans, and I'm also proposing an extension of a paid military leave for up to 30 days of any SSO or other employee serving as a reservist.
Our partnership with each other is paramount to make sure that we're in contact with each other as well, to make sure that if we have any issues or we have concerns that we're sitting down at the table and making sure we work those out. But
Reiswick thanked the school board and county commission for approving $4.7 million for school security, allowing for 22 new officers within the security division. Also, we're watching to see how a proposal lands, which would drum up more money for the Old City Multi-Use Stadium project. Already, we've seen a new set of designs trimming square footage to save with costs rising and supply chain issues slowing the process. Now, Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs and Knoxville Mayor India Kincannon say they support enlarging the stadium tax district to Magnolia Avenue.
Any new revenue that's generated from property tax in this area, so this will be new property tax revenue because of new private investment, and that new property tax revenue then is, just as Mr. Caldwell was saying, invested directly back into public infrastructure and public amenities in that community.
Mayor Kincannon is saying the public benefits of the stadium must outweigh the costs, and we're assuring that that's in fact what's happening, end quote. Votes and a public hearing, by the way, are each scheduled to happen this month. Meanwhile, we're being told Randy Boyd will pay more money for the stadium project up front. However, the city says he will not be increasing his original $46 million commitment. We'll talk about the election aftermath with our panel of pundits. That's just around the corner. You're watching Tennessee This Week. Keep it right here. And welcome back to Tennessee This Week. I'm Bo Williams, and I'm joined by political analyst George Corda and political contributor Courtney Piper. As always, great to have both of you with us. Got a lot to talk about. Had quite the election this past Thursday. So let's first of all just kind of get your overall view. What was your big takeaway after seeing the numbers come in, seeing who won, who didn't? George, I'm going to start with you. Was there anything that really stood out from last Thursday?
Well, as we've talked in previous days, the one that really stood out to me was Elaine Davis versus Janet Testerman. Janet Testerman had more money. She was a sitting council member, and the conventional wisdom, the other day when we were talking about it on the 5:30 news, Craig Griffith had mentioned that her people had told him she was going to win by 5 or 6 points. She got obliterated. She lost by nearly 20. And Elaine Davis ran an extraordinarily good campaign in a Republican primary. And Testerman ran as a conservative. I mean, if you look at her website, she's talking about conservative issues. But Davis got the heavy hitter conservative endorsement. And also, as I mentioned before, Eddie Manis on this show,
right,
who was retiring, looked at you and called Janet Testerman a moderate. And in fact, my colleagues both agreed she was a moderate. And that actually got some play. I've seen that on websites being replayed, that segment from Tennessee This Week. So I think that was a a really, in total, powerful message to a lot of people that this is now a district that's going to be represented, or on the Republican side, by if Davis wins in the general, a conservative Republican district. No more, gee, I wonder where they are. You got Manis, Testament, I wonder where they are. And the other thing, I thought the Democrats, though not winning, did a little better than I thought they would. And particularly in the mayor's race. I mean, Glenn Jacobs still won in a landslide, but I think people are kind of going, hey, she came within 10, 12 points of him. Now that is a landslide, but I think people were thinking maybe it would be wider. So I think in some cases, Democrats did better than expected, but Republicans, from their standpoint, did just fine.
Courtney, is that kind of your takeaway too, as far as the Democrats' performance and then any particular race that really stood out to you?
Yes, Democrats are competitive again. And what we saw with that county mayor's race is Debbie Hensley, who was the Democratic candidate, picked up 7 precincts that President Trump had won in 2020. Grisham is an example. Grisham's kind of in North Knoxville as an example. And so, I think that means that Democrats are competitive again, and we are better positioned to start picking up more and more votes and giving voters more and more choices. Something else that stood out to me was the District 4 school board race. That was Catherine Bike. She was outspent $100,000 to $30,000, and she won that race. So that was really great for Democrats too. And another thing that was really good to see is that we were really competitive in County Commission District 3. The Democrats lost that by 89 votes to the woman who ran against Eddie Manis in that House District 18 race 2 years ago now, I guess it is. So that tells me that we are extraordinarily competitive in County Commission's 3rd district, and that's something that is extraordinarily winnable for Democrats. So my big takeaway here is that Democrats are competitive again.
Let me ask you guys this, because we've talked about this before. Obviously, we've touched on voter turnout in the past, especially in elections like this. You see a lot of money that's been spent. You just kind of alluded to it there. Courtney didn't quite pay off. You see a lot of money. You see the attacks sometimes online. We saw those against Dr. Briggs in his race, but again, he ended up winning in race like that. Does it matter as much, I guess, is where I'm kind of going with this, Courtney? Do you feel all that time, all that money, or is it kind of wasted?
It depends on how the money is spent and who is spending the money. So if the candidate has amassed a lot of money, but they're not doing the grassroots things that they need to do to actually get people to vote, the amount of money doesn't matter because you're a lazy campaigner. And if you're a lazy campaigner, no amount of money is going to help you win the day. On the other hand, if you have PACs, outside money that's against you, that just pounds the electorate with a negative narrative that turns off your opposition so much towards you, could end up backfiring. So the amounts of money coming in really depend on who has it and how it's spent, if it's going to make any difference at all.
Yeah, George, you kind of go along with that mindset as well?
Well, the problem with money is it can lull you into thinking that you have the clear advantage over your opponent. But there are four legs to a campaign chair. One is organization, one is money, one is issues, and one is emotion. Now, money enables you to organize and to play on emotions and to do those things that you need to do to get your name out. But to go back to the Davis Testerman race, I was talking to a person today, and I asked them, what do you think happened there? And they referenced a television ad. They saw Janet Testerman against Davis that was, called her, he said, I didn't see the ad myself, but he called her a 4 or 5 time loser and just really pounded her personally. And he said that his wife, seeing that ad, went, I don't like that. So here's what's happening, and it's happened in a number of races, not only here, but around the country. Consultants are telling candidates, you have got to absolutely go for the jugular all the time in order to win. And they are, and these consultants are cookie cutting campaigns around the country or around a state, and they're doing scorched earth and it's rebounding in many cases against the candidate they're working for. And I'm not against negative campaigning or comparative advertising. I think it's necessary, but people act on the basis of information. When you put stuff out there that is so over the top that people look at it where they're actually moved to feel sympathy for the other candidate, you have failed. And a lot of consultants are driving too many campaigns.
Courtney, I see you're shaking your head there. I want to let you chime in on this. I mean, is this kind of a carryover from what we've seen nationally for several years now, that people are just kind of like, okay, I'm just kind of over this?
Yeah. Over the top, I completely agree with George. We saw this play out in another way with the last gubernatorial race with in the Republican primary with Randy Boyd, Governor Bill Lee, and Diane Black. That Randy Boyd and Diane Black just sort of went head to head, bashing the absolute snot out of each other. And then Bill Lee was the benefactor of all that because people were so turned off by those ads. So you really do have to be careful.
As far as the race comes up, Jason Martin, it was a three-way race for the Democrats. Martin comes out on top of that. He will take on Governor Lee in the fall. First of all, your impressions of the three-person race there, Courtney. I'm going to start with you on this one, and Martin coming out on top there. Any surprises in that race as far as who's going to represent the Democrats heading into November?
The race was close, closer than I thought it would be. Dr. Martin is a great candidate for Democrats. He saw the effects of COVID firsthand, and the response to COVID and public health is one of the major parts of his campaign. So he is a absolutely wonderful candidate for Democrats and a really great contrast to Governor Lee and the Lee administration. I don't think any politician deserves a free lunch. Everybody deserves to be held accountable for their record, and I think that's what we're going to see in this gubernatorial race.
George, I mean, will this one be close? Does he have a shot? No, you're already shaking your head. Okay. No. So why is that?
Because this is a red state, and the farther up the political food chain you go, the more what happens in Washington affects the race. And with Joe Biden in the White House, Nancy Pelosi, I don't know if she'll still be Speaker after this, but she's Speaker right now. And what's happening in Washington, that's going to have an effect on Tennessee. Secondly, the redness of this state, it's like this. I'm sure it will be a campaign in which Bill Lee is attacked regularly. Whether he chooses to defend his record or not, that will be shown by what the polls are telling him. He's not going to talk about a Democrat unless he has to, or unless outside groups come in and they run stuff. But Bill Lee is going to try to be above it. And chances are he can afford to do that, because if a Democrat gets within 15 points, that's kind of a moral victory, but it doesn't put you in the governor's office.
Yeah, will charter schools come into play, you think, in this race? Then, I mean, what are going to be Courtney? What are going to be the big the topics here? I know you've already kind of touched on COVID, but as far as some of the other topics, could the governor face some issues there?
Certainly, charter schools. The governor has faced a lot of blowback from that gentleman from a college in Michigan that said teachers are dumb and they're educated in the dumbest colleges in the dumbest parts of the country, state, however his saying went. And Governor Lee has refused to denounce that statement and say that he doesn't agree with it. So that, and just his approach to public education with vouchers, etc., certainly puts a huge issue on the table for Democrats to draw a stark contrast between Governor Lee's policies and how a Democrat would approach the office.
Yeah, George, let me get your thoughts, because we kind of talked about in the last segment about strategists and the game plans. Is that kind of how Martin goes? Is those some of the topics he focuses on, or not?
Here's what happens in election. Everybody genuflects at the altar of education. Everybody. When I got here to Tennessee in 1981, Lamar Alexander was governor, and the teachers union didn't like him. Teachers union never likes Republicans. And everybody says we're running on education, and education is going to be the key issue. But here's the thing. if your kid is in a school that you like and they have a teacher you like, you don't have a problem with public education. And you don't get caught up in all of these arguments about charter schools versus this, versus vouchers, versus whatever. There are people who want those things because they can't afford to put their kids in a private school and they'd like a little help doing it. But the education establishment circles the wagons against that. But if teachers were as powerful, if that were as powerful a political force as people talk about it being, they'd be running the state, and they don't. And there's a reason. That's because most people, even though public education has for a long time now not measured up to what we need, and there are a whole lot of reasons for that, and it's not a blanket condemnation of teachers, but they don't have a huge problem with public education.
Well, let me ask you this then. Will abortion be a bigger factor then in this race? Do you think that will be the other key point? We talked about schools.
People who are pro-abortion aren't going to vote for Bill Lee anyway in most cases, unless their economic desires or their economic beliefs transcend that. That'll be talked about a lot. It's a very emotional issue, but it's not going to get Bill Lee beaten.
It's possible that it will be a very big issue that will make Bill Lee's life very difficult, because there was a public opinion poll that was put out for Tennesseans in Tennessee right before the Roe versus Wade was overturned, and we saw a majority of Tennesseans say that they thought abortion should be legal, either totally legal or legal in some instances. And what we know from Tennessee's new abortion ban is that it would completely remove the decision for a woman to terminate a pregnancy completely. So that doesn't include rape, incest, or any other factors. So that could be a really, really big issue for him.
Guys, let me ask you this. We just got under 3 minutes still to go. What are you looking for now between now and November? George, what are you going to be watching? Any particular races, anything like that jump out at you? Any topics that are going to become even bigger than they are now that we'll be discussing? What's going to be the big key point here?
Well, I think you're going to see an attempt to do what I talked about earlier. That is, there will be blood on the floor as a result of the types of consultant-driven ads and campaign tactics. And when I say consultants, I'm not saying all consultants are bad or all consultants do this. But unfortunately, there are those out there that are doing this, making a living at it. And the thing is, when the campaign's over, they don't have to be here. They don't live here. They're going to go off to some other state, or they're going to be at home, and they're going to hope, if they won, that it'll lead to some more business. But what I expect, and what I'm going to be looking at personally, is what is the Biden effect on voting, not just in Tennessee, but around the country? Because the president is always the catalyst, the thing around which everything else tends to revolve.
Courtney, kind of go along with that really what happens with the Biden administration, how people's feelings are, that's going to play a big effect coming into the fall vote?
Maybe. We also have new congressional districts, so that kind of gerrymandering is also going to be very interesting to watch too, in terms how the vote stacks up and sorts out, especially with our congressional districts and our new state house and Senate districts as well.
All right. I tell you, there's a lot to watch as we move forward. Guys, as always, we appreciate you taking time. I know we'll be talking a lot more about this as we get closer. But again, George, Courtney, as always, we appreciate your insight and taking time to join us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. And thank you for watching Tennessee This Week. I'm Bo Williams. We'll see you next time.
The views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 on your side or Next Star Broadcasting.